Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
Fort Smith attorney Joey McCutchen back with us. Joey, welcome, sir.
Hey, Paul, glad to be here.
Absolutely. Now, I've put this out on Twitter. I mean, these are some new documents that I'm looking at here. What can you tell me about, some of these new documents concerning Senator Jake Files? They seem to validate what the FBI affidavit said when they were applying for a search warrant. Looks like we've got some hard evidence here. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it's overwhelming evidence, and it's amazing to me that Jake Files is still a senator and taking public tax dollars after he's clearly engaged in fraud, deceit, theft, you name it. He's engaged in it.
Wow. We're kind of got to go over this. I've got a PDF file here. We've redacted out Social Security numbers and things like that. But this is a W-9 form. And apparently this is Deanna Gonzales's, or at least this is a signature that says Deanna Gonzales. Now, is that really her signature?
No, that's Jake Files' signature. He forged that signature on the W-9 form.
I feel like he's done a good job. I feel like I don't know. I feel like that is a feminine signature. Like he was trying to. Oh, this is a woman that's signing this. Maybe that's sexist of me to say, but yeah.
Well, you look at the signature, you can see that he apparently started printing her name. You can see a D inside the cursive D, and then you can see an I. So I guess he got that wrong, and then he puts the wrong address. He puts the wrong address up in the address line, which he also conveniently did that also in the fictitious bid that he submitted, quote, for the gift funds also.
Okay. Yeah.
He clearly went into the city and told them that he wanted a redo. After he submits 3 fictitious bids to get this gift money, then he asked the city if he can have a redo.
Yeah, it's weird. Is this the bid? So this next document, Joe, show them the next document. It's got Deanna Gonzales' name on it. December the 8th of 2016 is the date, and it appears to be a bid to trench and place water lines for the River Valley Sports Complex. Materials, labor, totaling $47,545.91. So is this the bid that, Jake Files fills out in Deanna Gonzales' name?
That's the bid that he fictitious bid, one of 3 that he filled out. In the city's audit, they state that he admitted that he prepared and submitted all 3 quotes, and then he goes on to say, subsequent to disclosure, he asked if he could get legitimate bids and resubmit them.
I remember that.
During this same period of time, Paul, they bring Miss Gonzales in, Jake Files, and our city administrator. You know the incompetence of the city over this thing. I mean, they give out $1 million. They don't require a performance bond. They just give Jake Files. There's something going on here, Paul. There's more going on here than just Jake Files corruption. They bring my client, Miss Gonzales, in, and they tell Jake Files to bring her in. She goes down. She meets with the city auditor and our city administrator. He asks her for her identification. She hands it to him. The city auditor then asks her to sign her name. She signs her name. At that point, one of them says to Senator Files, "You might have her leave the room at this point." So she left the room. She never had any idea that this involved gift money. She never knew about it until her name was slandered in the paper. So
to be clear, so Deanna Gonzales and this our producer Joe has had this crazy theory forever that she doesn't even exist. So we can put this to bed. She does exist, and she has now retained you for your legal services.
She does exist, and her husband exists, and they are business people. Worked for the military for many years, and then got a job with Jake Files, and we've got text messages from Jake telling her what he wants her to do with this account. They set up an account in her name. They were trying to get paid. They were trying to get paid. Jake Files owes them $30,000 in reimbursements and payroll. And Mr. Files also sold them a truck, took it out of their payroll, $13,000. And just so happens they can't get a good title because the title has liens on it. Has liens against it.
So they can't even drive
That's
that.
a crime.
Wow.
And statute of limitations probably passed on that. What
is this document? Look at this other document. Joey, can you tell us about this? Is this Jake Files' handwriting? And this is a copy of a notebook piece of paper. It's got the exact title, or got the exact number of $26,945, which is the amount of GIF money that was taken out.
Yes.
So is this Jake Files' handwriting here?
It is. After he opens this account in Diana's name, again, they wanted to get paid. They had no idea why he wanted them. He told them, as the affidavit states, that his accounts were overdrawn. Would you open up an account in my name? But yeah, this is all his handwriting. It shows where the GIF money went. You'll see that he paid his payroll with it. He paid some reimbursement to Deanna. The bank wouldn't give it all back in cash, so he had them put some of it in a money order. So he handed out some cash, including a Christmas bonus, and then pockets the rest of the cash and deposit in his FFA account the money order.
So this is interesting. This piece of paper, how did you get this piece of paper with supposedly Jake Files' handwriting on it? And does the FBI have a copy of this? I mean, this is this is evidence.
They absolutely do have this. I think right now will be the first time probably Mr. Files is listening to this interview, and I think this is the first time he'll know that the FBI has that document. It's really time for the FBI to hopefully they're close to indicting Jake Files for this fraud and corruption.
Wow.
It's time.
Wow. Yeah, and, the reason this document is so interesting is because it matches up. These are the exact numbers, that you can go read in any media report, Arkansas Times, Democrat Gazette, any of them. And then we have here another document. Go to this last document on December 30th here, 2016 at 10:28 a.m., Jake Files. We've redacted the phone number there. Apparently writes, need Deanna, I think he misspelled her name, need Deanna to open a checking account with your address on it now, and they can wire the money today. Call you shortly. Anyway, interesting stuff here. Now, let me ask you this, Joey, and this is we're talking with Joey McCutchen, Fort Smith attorney. John Woods, okay, his trial's now been postponed. At the last minute, I had articles I was preparing to cover on today's show saying that it was gonna continue on Monday, but the apparently there's now new evidence, and the judge says, we're pushing the trial date back. But I've been waiting. You talk about Jake Files' indictment. There's these rumors about other people being indicted, but nobody will really say anything. There's sealed indictments that have been filed in the Western District of Arkansas, sealed indictments that have been filed in the Eastern District of Arkansas, and a lot of people were thinking that this December 4th trial date was going to kind of be a marker as to whether or not some of these indictments will be unsealed. What can you tell us about that, or can you tell us anything about that?
I don't know. I don't know that I can tell you anything about that other than the fact that we're pushing forward. We FOIA'd asking for documents from Ecclesia. They through their lawyer Travis Story, who is, by the way, partners with Bob Ballinger, who gave gift money to Ecclesia after he had done work for them. We're pushing forward with that, and they're fighting so hard. We think eventually we're going to get those documents. They want to say that they're not public documents. Well, when you get $700,000 of public money, then I think the public probably has the right to take a look at those documents.
All of this corruption or potential corruption. I mean, we covered yesterday that the Bureau of Legislative Research has hired an attorney that's also representing somebody whose companies are under investigation for receiving GIF money when they shouldn't have. There's a huge conflict of interest there. I mean, did you see that story, Joey?
The story about the hiring counsel? Yeah.
Jane Duke is her name. I mean, did you see that?
That's been months ago, hasn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, but they actually, Doug Thompson did a whole write-up on it about how it's a huge conflict of interest. And that came out yesterday. But so I covered it extensively. It just seems like there's a ton of moving pieces going on. And they can all be separate, but it seems to me that there's just a lot of people trying to play cover here. Now, you yourself, I want to talk about this. You yourself, Joey, have been talking about how Bob Ballinger, Representative Ballinger, might be called to testify in your case, and so his law firm, should be disqualified. And matter of fact, in this John Woods case, he's mentioned as somebody who was going to be called as a witness. And that was in the news story today that he and I think like 59 other people were scheduled to be called as witnesses in this trial that was supposed to begin on Monday. And I thought of you because I was like, well, Joey has mentioned the other thing. He's mentioned something similar, but in the FOIA Ecclesia case.
Right. I think multiple legislators could be potential witnesses in that case. When they start making bizarre allegations in their pleadings, like Ecclesia is really a church and not a college.
Yeah, it's weird.
And it's really, really bizarre.
I know. I just asked you about the John Woods case, but I'm not an attorney. You are. It has been delayed, and it's been delayed because of supposedly new evidence. I mean, what kind of tactic is that? I mean, how likely would you think that's new evidence from the prosecution, or is it new evidence from the defense trying to stall this thing so people can have a Christmas? I mean, is that what's going on here?
I can't imagine that it's a stall because of Christmas, but I don't know. I read the story. Actually, I was surprised to read that it had been continued because I was impression it was not going to be continued. It was going to trial next week.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people are asking me questions like, well, does this mean we're not going to have any more indictments? And I don't know. I mean, it was a pure speculation on my point that we hadn't had any more indictments of Jake Files or anybody else because they were waiting on the John Woods trial to start. There's just a lot of confusion. I feel like justice is moving a lot slower than it needs to because I want to know if there's people who are corrupt and they're serving in positions of power, it needs to be disclosed to the public, and they need to get out of there.
Yeah, sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Joey, hey, I appreciate you coming on the program, and these documents are certainly, corroborating what the FBI said in their affidavit. So I appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.
All right,
thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. Joey McCutchen, Fort Smith attorney, and that's.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.